Hello and welcome to Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast at We are recording live from the Power Up Live Pro Studio presented by TerraHive. Thanks to RE Plus and Suncast Media for hosting us, and thanks to my special guest, Rudy Saporite. And Rudy is the program director at IBTS, which is super, super awesome. He's wearing a Team IBTS Puerto Rico shirt. And I know IBTS is all over the place. Where isn't IBTS?
That's a great question. There's a couple states left, I think, that we are not represented. But yeah, we are many places. We cover, Washington State down to Puerto Rico, Boston, sort of down to Hawaii, and had been to Guam several times as well. So,
how about North Dakota, which is 52 out of 50 states as far as solar goes?
I have been to North Dakota. I'm actually a resident of South Dakota. And,
are you really?
Yeah,
okay.
Funny enough, the last few years. But that is one state we are not doing inspections. We have done one, actually, in Minot Air Force Base.
Oh, okay.
Up there in Minot.
And that's probably like the only solar module in all of North Dakota?
Yeah, it's a military installation,
yeah,
so it's not even a commercially available product.
And so maybe we could talk a little bit about what IBTS is. I know that it's pretty famous. I was actually hanging out with my buddy Spencer Wright, who I know you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Great guy.
Yeah, and I've known him since he took my class and he filled out a form that said, what are your complaints? And he's like, he needs some help. And they hired him to help me the next class.
That's great.
And that was over in Pennsylvania in 2008.
Yeah, he's outside of Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, it was called Infinite Solar was the name of the organization.
Oh, great. Yeah. And I know that Spencer is a former inspector for IBTS.
Yeah.
IBTS, Institute for Building Technology and Safety, a 45-year-old company founded by two incredible individuals, Sham Chaudhry and Ashok Goswami, two best friends out of India, came to America for better opportunities, and once they got here, they really made things happen at IBTS. We primarily do code compliance and support for the built environment. IBTS oversees manufactured housing development in the United States, which I was surprised to learn accounts for 10% of new construction homes in the United States year over year, which is a significant amount of homes when you think about all those being built in the United States.
I didn't know all of this stuff. Is IBTS have some kind of relationship to Burnham Energy? Did you guys acquire Burnham Energy?
No, we did not acquire. They were one of our few competitors early on, the folks in Burnham. Actually, there were two organizations that I respect greatly, both the individuals I worked with and their organizations, Cadmus Group in the Northeast, and then Burnham Energy was out of, I think, San Francisco at the time, or the Palo Alto.
Yeah, they had me do their training, and I did some inspections for them.
Great group.
And over in Hawaii.
And I think they started developing some technology back where they called it the Burnham Eye, if you recall. It was
I remember something
early on
about
attempt at doing some virtual type of inspections, but I don't think technology had gotten to where it was. But no, to answer your question, we did not acquire them. We partnered with them on a few different things because we all had shared interests in increasing quality throughout the solar and standardizing the work that we were all doing. So whether Cadmus was looking at something in the Northeast, or they were looking at something from Burnham in California, or IBTS sort of taking the other umbrella of the remainder of the country, we wanted to make sure we were assessing everything properly. So that was sort of the collaboration of competitors that's, for the sake of standardizing in the industry.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so maybe we could just explain what IBTS does as far as solar and storage goes.
Great. Yeah, that's terrific. So our solar program is roughly $4 million worth of our 45 or greater, actually growing amount of revenue. So a smaller sector of our company overall, really focusing on code compliance, standardization, and third-party verification of installed systems. And we do that either for independent engineering companies who are overseeing investment in some companies, or state rebate incentive programs. We are NYSERDA's quality service provider for all of their state rebate incentive programs for both PV and battery energy storage, residential as well as commercial and utility. And then in Puerto Rico, we do government program oversight. So grid deployment office, oversight of systems installed using federal money. So really, we are that third-party, unbiased organization. We don't have skin in the game for installations. Our goal is really to verify and ensure safe installations that will meet the intended target of production or performance.
I bet you've seen all kinds of stuff. And are you the one that goes out there that does this?
I still do them. Yeah, I still do them. And that's a requirement I've given in my contract even. If you put me in the office too long, I will give you my resignation.
All right. Great. So you get some of the best views are where the solar systems are. They get open sky, top of a building, something like that.
Yep.
And so when you go out there and do that, you're like proving that the system was installed right. And I'm sure that you've seen some really good installed systems. And I bet you probably have some stories.
We all do, yeah. Some probably more. I think, yes, very much so. I think I'm surprised at how many stories I still learn about each day on both the positive and negative side. I don't think we've gotten to a huge level of standardization, but yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff.
And like I said, I did a little bit of third-party inspection. It was like really I did a class for Burnham. Are they still around?
I don't know that they are.
Okay, yeah, I think they're not. And I know there was like Saul and Dave Inda. They were the ones that I was...
Yeah, great guys. The two brothers also at Palo Alto. Saul and David were both inspectors for IBTS as well.
Okay.
So we've got a few employee inspectors, but we've really benefited from a lot of incredible professionals. Brian Mahalik, Rebecca Wren, the Indas, Spencer... There's a ton I've forgotten. Andrew Truitt at one time had an IBTS badge on doing some inspection in the field. So I'd love to say I could sit here and take credit for a lot of what IBTS is today, but it is the culmination of a lot of incredible individuals who have put forth passion in making this industry better. So, yeah, that's funny. The Inda Brothers, that's a name I hadn't heard in quite a while, but a good one. For sure.
I ran into them at a conference a year and a half ago, something like that. But anyway, so I did a class in San Jose for them, like a PV associate class for their company. And this was quite a while ago, like 15 years ago or something. And then I went to go do a class and explore doing business in Maui. And I was there for, I think, about 3 weeks. And they said, hey, while you're over there, why don't you go do some inspections in Oahu? And so I would jump on an airplane, I would take a shuttle, get a rental van, go to Home Depot, pick up a ladder, drive around in crazy Los Angeles-like traffic in the middle of the Pacific Ocean for a day.
In Eva Beach, right? Eva Beach is where like crazy traffic in Eva Beach. There.
Yeah, and then I would make it back to Maui, go to bed. And I did that probably just like for a few different days or something like that. And I saw the worst thing I ever saw in my life as far as install. There's this one system that I think it had like quick mounts, and some of them weren't even bolted down. They were just sitting there on the roof. It was all signed off by the inspectors. There was solar hot water that was actually literally over PV. It's like I was like, oh, multi-junction or something.
I've seen a lot of those. Speaking of Maui, I think the systems in Hawaii tended to get worse the farther away from Oahu you went. We had suspected some on Lahaina that looked like I had built better systems in tree houses that I had as a child, right? Than some of the stuff we saw in Hawaii. So they certainly needed it and certainly needed the help. But I think that's a really good indication of some of the precursors to quality solar or how solar can be better than others is that infrastructure either at the municipal level or, the schooling level. And the more confined your space becomes, the more limited those resources are, right? Quality installations, subject matter experts, or even knowledgeable building departments. So that's a lot of what we've tried to help out. That's the demographic we've tried to, create tools for, create standards for, and help train.
And so IBTS is like third-party inspection, like all kinds of systems, right? Like from the biggest to the smallest in the world.
Well, and I call it quality management, I guess. So an inspection is a component of how we try to assess quality. And quality management is an ISO process that allows some feedback and creates a feedback channel because with NABCEP, we're creating standards with heat spraying, SEI, and folks, like the course I'm taking with you for the ESIP.
Thanks.
We create, thank you. We create a lot of trainings, and those trainings get us along a path, right? And then you would expect that the system we've installed is the culmination of all that qualification that we've learned, and it results in a final thing. So measuring that final thing, the inspection, is really a position of, we measure compliance, but then how can we be proactive after measuring compliance or non-compliance? Because we don't want to spend 15 years measuring failure. We want to improve quality, right?
Sure.
So feeding back into the education programs like you create or into the state program, guidelines, which may promote a better requirement or same way we update the codes and standards, right? So we really approach it from the quality management standpoint and help folks manage quality. If you're a new install company and you want to train your teams, but you maybe don't have the luxury of getting them into a 2-week training class where they could sit and get paid, The structured approach for quality management where we assess quality helps to create Pareto charts or helps to create an informed education standpoint where I can focus on those things that are most, heavily weighing towards my quality or non-compliance. And it really helps folks make an efficient way of improving quality while also ensuring compliance within what they're doing. So, not that that's my own design, again, stolen somewhat from ISO and their quality protocols and every other manufacturing process that is successful.
Let's just mention also to what's ISO. It's a certification agency. I think there's they'll certify different things.
Yes. And I believe, is it Industrial Standards Organization or it's something to do with industrial standards. And going back to what you mentioned there with the ISO, they certify a process. And then say you're making a widget. You're able to make your widget or design your widget within an ISO accredited or ISO approved process.
International Organization for Standardization.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of different things have that ISO. So great.
Yeah, and I guess they should be iOS then, right? So they're stealing from Mac.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a lawsuit coming there. Maybe that's why they switched the lettering.
Okay. Yeah, probably. I looked it up on my Apple phone, so it's probably using iOS to look up ISO.
Nice.
And another thing that I always see you doing all the time is you are a judge at the Solar Games.
Yes.
And that's pretty cool. And you're really busy and you could say hi for a second and then you're judging and there's these two teams and there's a ladder. It's like the US Open for tennis or something.
Yeah.
You have all this, the finals, the semifinals. And so how much do people have to bribe you to win that?
Thankfully, it is a team effort with a great team, and I cannot be bought because there are several other judges that have to be bought along with us. But I guess all of us love burritos. So that would be
really expensive. Yeah,
it could be, or just the right food because we're all hungry during that conference. You throw me a burrito under a rooftop, and you could get into the next round, perhaps. No, and I'm very, very lucky to lean on a group, and as you know, I'm excited that you have potentially offered to join this year's guest judge team. So we've got a group of folks, including Johan, Travis, and the team out of Revision Energy up in Maine. They're sort of our core team that help us pull off the show with the DivCom folks year after year. IBTS lends me to DivCom to provide that sort of mediator position, in part because I think I'm just a rough New Yorker that can take everybody yelling at him during the show. But we really had a good thing going. We also bring in guest judges. We've had Ryan Mayfield, Brian Mahalik, Spencer Wright himself actually has come in and helped us significant amounts. So it's something that came to me 5 years ago. Sean O'Brien from NABCEP
Sure, we just had him on the podcast yesterday.
Great guy. A Boston fan, but I'll leave him alone on that.
We had the Sean and Sean show.
Oh, nice. Spelt differently, of course.
I know. One correctly, the other incorrectly.
So Sean from NABCEP said, DivCom said, we're going to have this show. And Sean said, I have the perfect guy for you, Rudy. And they said, we're going to do this show where two companies are going to go head to head. And I thought of it, I go, guys, this sounds like a horrible idea. This sounds like watching grass grow. Turns out 5 years later, the shows have been great. They're a ton of fun. It gives us an opportunity to showcase in real time what we do as practitioners. And it lets me hang out with some of the most intelligent folks in our industry, right? So I could run back and forth laps from Caesars Forum to the other side of this show, or I could probably do just as many laps not leaving that arena throughout Intersolar
just
show.
Like back and forth and back and forth.
I love
and
it.
There's bleachers and all that.
It's a great time. It's a changed environment for a show and one that's really had good outcomes. I couldn't have been more happy with the way those have gone.
Yep. And then, and people win. Don't they get a big check or something like that?
The prizes are really significant now. We're first place, $10,000, second place, $5,000, and I believe $2,500 for the third place. There's additional sponsorships for NABCEP trainings through HeatSpring and through others so that we could promote folks really promoting and increasing their level of expertise. There's donations or gifts given by a lot of the sponsors, sponsored by Rolls Batteries, sponsored by K2 Racking, and we have those sponsors come in every year. So it's a very, very robust show now. This year, we're switching it up. We typically done sort of a bracket style where it's two teams go head-to-head, and then the winner goes to the next round. We're going to switch that to sort of a point style to build a little drama this year. And, say ultimately the best scoring teams will move on, not just the teams that caught a good
And will you see like
breakdown.
a score clicker as it's going?
We'll be accounting the scores. Yeah, it won't
As
necessarily.
time goes on, it's not just at the end.
Well, we do at the end because we have to grade them ultimately on the final install. And as you know, a lot of that detail is seen as we're breaking down the system. So we do reserve that. But rather than after round one, this team automatically knows it's going on to the next round, you could still get knocked out even if you won your head-to-head competition if somebody else's points are above yours. So just trying to take and promote a bit more of the incentive for quality. And the other thing it does is great collaboration among teams in previous events. So when one team would have lost round one, they would give some secrets to another team who still had yet to play within round one. And I'm sure this year they won't be giving up secrets because that final score is how they will all get past, right? So you're not necessarily knocked out until all the scores for round one are done. So we're seeing the dynamic shift this year to see if we could engage with some more people and keep it dramatic, increase the stress levels.
Are the people in round two allowed to watch round one?
Yes.
So that's like kind of an advantage,
Certainly.
I guess, to
and
see
the way
what's
we
going on.
set that up is if you've installed previously, so we have repeating teams that are coming back from last year, they'll go first because they've got a little bit of experience in there, and then the new teams that have signed up for that year would go later in round one, so they get the chance to sit there and see how the show goes and see what goes on.
I remember a couple of years ago, I was rooting hard for the Grid Alternatives all-woman team.
Great team.
And I think they couldn't do it again because you could do 2 years in a row. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yeah, and then they just removed the difference. It was 2 years in a row, then wait 2 years. I believe they're now able to come back and eligible to come back.
Okay, good. All right.
There's an example. It's a really cool thing. This is the things that's kind of you see break down during the show. That was a group of highly trained and very expert installers. And because they wanted a team of all women, they happened to pull them from different groups. So they
They'd have
didn't
never worked together.
Correct.
Yeah, I remember that.
So they didn't have that cadence down or that knowledge of like that muscle memory of, oh, so-and-so is doing X, so I could focus here. Where, I won't say less experienced individuals had done better in those programs, but individuals who work with each other day over day tend to have a better flow. And when you realize this is a timed
Just like,
competition.
nice to meet you.
There's a lot of people watching you. The stress builds really quickly. And I know a lot of those. I think it's Ann Batista and some of the other folks from that. Phenomenal individuals who are in our NABCEP committees, right? And their level of expertise is high. But you're in a competitive environment, and this show is set up to really throw you off your game and make it stressful. So
how about any doping scandals?
No doping, so we haven't had anything crazy. I think the opposite, as you know, with conferences, we'll see who can keep their team from drinking too much the night before.
Anti-doping or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then probably the other team is like, come on, I'll buy it for you.
Yeah, free drinks.
Put a little shot in there. And
That's a good, and all these
guess,
strategies apply.
Like, have you ever heard of there's a book called The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County?
No.
And I went to high school. I graduated high school from Bret Harte High School in Calaveras County, and Mark Twain wrote this book, and it was about the jumping frog, and there's this thing called the frog jump. And anyway, it's sort of like an anti-doping scandal because they fed one of the frogs buckshot, and then that frog couldn't jump because it was all weighted down with, essentially BBs or, stuff that goes in a shotgun shell. And so that would be another way is you have to look out for people doing that kind of stuff and Russian spies coming in there and like doping people.
That's where the team really helps out. We've got 2 judges on each roof.
Mm-hmm.
I jump between the middle, and then the folks from DivCom are also there. So we got a lot of eyes on the folks, and we try to keep doping to a minimum if at all we could. I think that's a really good way of winning a bass fishing contest, too, is I think just putting weights in the fish before you go to take them up to the trophy.
Yeah. I always do that. Yeah. Oh, you gave away my secret.
Darn.
Okay. We interrupt you for a very important announcement. Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast has been brought to you by Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. That's right, Sean White is sponsoring his own podcast, and he wants to remind you to go check out some of his classes. You can go to SolarSEAN, that's Solar, SEAN.com, and then click on the links to check out his classes. You can check out his heat spring classes, and you can also hire him to teach classes for you, like at your company, something like that. Now back to the show. So you work for IBTS. What does IBTS stand for?
It is Institute for Building Technology and Safety.
Institute for Building Technology and Safety.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for keeping these solar arrays safe and being a good judge and not getting bought out.
Yep.
And for being fun to talk to.
Likewise.
And for being on this podcast. This has been a lot of fun.
And conveying a thanks back to you, having to take this ESIP training and 40 hours of learned training. Thank you for keeping that upbeat, because it's one of the easier trainings I've had to endure and get through, and it's been very good. So thank you very much for your time, and I'm thrilled you invited me on the show. Thank you very much, Sean.
All right. Thanks so much, Rudy. And it's been great. And just as a reminder, we are recording live from the Power Up Live Pro Studio presented by TerraHive. Thanks to RE Plus and Suncast Media for hosting us. And if you want to find out about IBTS and hire them, where do they find you?
IBTS.org.
IBTS.org. How do you spell IBTS?
IBTS.
Oh, man, what a coincidence.
.org.
Yeah, and we have Rudy Saporite here talking to me. And it's been a pleasure. And make sure to go to Solar, SEAN, that's SolarSEAN.com, and you can get yourself into the ESIP, that's the NABCEP Energy Storage Installation Professional class, just like Rudy. And you could get on there in the discussion board, and you can talk to Rudy online through the discussion board at HeatSpring.
Great.
What do you know?